I'm on the journey to 180 mile per hour ball speed. And on this episode, we go deep to uncover exactly what's holding me back from gaining speed. We're getting the full Tour Pro treatment here, getting on force plates, hooked up for 3D, and so much more.
It's better.
So since the last episode, I've been putting in some work.
Worth it.
I've been trying to work out. I have been doing some speed sessions with the ripstick. I've seen some good progress there. And then been doing some work on my swing and just hitting as well. And today we are in Birmingham, headed to Greystone Golf Club to hang out with Mark Blackburn. I am pumped to be back. A lot has changed. He's actually the #1 instructor right now, according to the Golf Digest rankings. It's pretty dang cool. He's obviously out working with all the best players right now, and so I'm really curious to pick his brain on how he's helping his clients gain speed and kind of go through some of that. I'm curious if are we gonna get hooked up to 3D? Are we looking at force plates? Are we gonna do some like physical assessment stuff? It's gonna be good. Hello, here to see Mark Blackburn?
At the club.
At the golf club, yep.
Yeah, go on in.
Thank you, sir. Hello. All right, so we're all set up. We're here with Mark in the studio. We got the next hour to dive into everything speed on my golf swing. And I know you have a bunch of great concepts to teach us, but where would you start when somebody rolls into your studio?
So if anyone's in here and you're searching for speed, which you clearly are, we've got to start with like, where are you in your sort of speed continuum? So we're going to hit some shots.
Okay.
Hit some shots, capture a bit of data on the force plates, and then just kind of see where you're at. Because typically, if we're trying to chase speed, where are we putting it? You're obviously going to put it in through the hands, but there's a couple of different things you can do to amplify that, so to speak.
This is great. I haven't been on force plates, so I'm excited to see what happens here.
I always say this too, like if you're chasing speed, the goal here is we get this club head speed as high as we can get it. So your brain is going to have somewhat of a restrictor on it because you're probably not operating at maximal speed. Nobody is. We all have this inherent restrictor plate because we're worried about straight. Our goal is to like get the speed up, take the restrictor plate off, and then we can dial back. Lots of club head speed gives us a high propensity for ball speed. So we need ball speed, but we need the club speed to kind of get to that. So swing hard.
Okay. Oh yes. That's a good start, Mark. 118 club head speed. 119. We can call it 119.
119.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, 119. We route up 171.
171.
So we're chasing 9 miles an hour.
Yep.
And then the good news here, you've got high club head speed. That's not particularly efficient because that smash is low. So if you had a 150 smash with that club head speed, you'd be mid 170s, pushing high 170s. So that we can teach that part. But the goal here, high club head speed, we can basically teach you to be more efficient to get the ball speed better, middle of the face, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
This is the number. It's like speed training when you're using a stick, whatever it is, you're trying to swing it as fast as possible. So then we can utilize that speed to get high ball speed.
I don't know if I've defined this yet. So I want to game at 180 is the specific goal of this.
Okay, all right.
We're getting deeper. So if you're guys that game at 180, when they try to hit it, how fast do they
can get,
go?
well, you saw earlier today, Trey Mullinax was in here. He can get 120 to 121 club speed, and then he's pushing 186, 187 ball speed.
Okay, but then when he tried to hit it, he got to 125, 126 club head speed, and it was just kind of like, he was just hitting. It wasn't a big deal.
So it's your nervous system needs to be able to understand it's okay to go fast.
Yeah.
Just like that's the whole principle of overtraining with these things. It's like you're trying to swing faster and faster, and then as you get used to swinging faster, you're going to develop more fast twitch muscle fiber and you'll be able to swing faster. All right, so let's capture another one. So, all right, here we go.
Should I wait?
Nice.
I don't think it was faster though.
But you said something very interesting there. So this is a great study. This is exactly what we talked about. So your club head speed is less.
Yeah.
but your ball speed is more. So
Yeah.
how is that? Well, your smash factor is now 148. You said I hit it solid. So ultimately what we want to try and do is maximize the speed, club speed,
Yep.
so we have the highest propensity for a high ball speed, and then that's where the coaching part comes in of getting you to actually hit it out the middle. But
Yep.
right now, our job
Yep.
is to just get this club head speed up and up and up and up. Ideally, your club head speed's 130, and then you can dial it
Right.
back to get maybe with 180's really easy ball speed. To get more speed into this club, you can either apply, well, there's three ways, but you can apply more force, more energy. So think of John Rahm, sure swing, loads of force.
Okay.
Or you can have more time, so longer swing.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy, more time. So you've got choices. We don't know which one might be better. You know, you might be better going more force, or you might be doing more time. We don't know. Or a
Okay.
combination of both. So when you, like, intuitively, you're going to hit it further. Okay, maybe swing longer, or maybe, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
We've got to figure that out, but those are inherently what you see.
Okay.
So ideally, the more force over time allows you to build more angular momentum, sends the thing as far as possible. That's maximum club head speed, which gives us a chance to get you 180 no problem.
Yep.
So I'm trying to basically make you into a turbocharged rocket,
Yeah.
so that then you don't have to go at full bore to get it in the middle, but you have enough fuel, so to speak, to be able to still get 180 no problem.
This video is sponsored by the good folks at Rapsodo.
Rapsodo is a fantastic launch monitor if you're looking to improve your game. Has simulation indoors, outdoors. You're able to measure your distances. You can now measure spin. It's a fantastic tool, great price point, operates on your iPad, super easy to use. If you want to get better, you need to get the MLM2 Pro from Rapsodo. It's definitely going to help your golf game.
Not a microphone though. So on the last episode of Working with Luke, we talked about getting more vertical and not collapsing with
Yep.
this, right? So, and that's really, I find that super hard. Yep.
So this is a huge part of that, which creates the unweighting here, which then allows you to whoosh, jump up out the ground, pull up on the handle and crack this thing like a whip.
Yep.
Because remember, something has to slow down to speed the head up. So when you jump and you decelerate the handle, the head slings by.
Double plate ready. Ish, kind of. What do we get? 117 club head speed.
147, so it's still a little more efficient. So that's,
I
again,
mean, it's a great golf shot, but like,
when we start talking about ground reaction forces, it's like, what's the torque that you're putting into the club? So you've got a combination of frontal plane torque, so that's face on, kind of think of a Ferris wheel. And then you've got horizontal plane torque, so kind of down the line, but or from above, imagine like a kid's merry-go-round. Those two together, one's at 90 and one's on the ground. Those together kind of create more towards that functional swing plane, like around a 45. And what makes up these two different things are these four graphs, simply put.
okay.
So, well, let's start top left and we'll go down to this. These two are the ingredients to frontal plane torque. And then these two are the ingredients to horizontal plane torque, kind of simply put, right? And this right here is the visual representation of what you do, how and where you push with your feet. That blue dot would be your center of mass. This red squiggle on the floor is actually the bottom part, the tail of the combined force. The combined force being that's your trail foot and that's your lead foot. The magnitude or added those two together would be your combined vertical force. And where that points, we can flip this plate around, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of giving us what you're doing, and this is reflected in these graphs. Moment arm, yours is about 7 inches, and that's the difference between where your mass is and your pressure. Imagine if you were going to undo a nut, the longer the lever on a wrench, the more force you can generate. What ideally I want to do is keep my mass back and my pressure forwards, and the difference between my mass and that force vector and my pressure is what we call basically your moment arm, that distance. And the bigger the moment arm, the more potential energy you have. Obviously, if it gets too big, then it becomes hard to manage, but yours here is about 7 inches. When we start to look at longer hitters, they're probably going to be in the sort of 10 to 14 inch range. So they're getting that mass is back, pressure's way forwards, as opposed to everything going together. That typical, I'll get to your lead side, it's when people start sliding and it's no good. Because remember, to create speed, we need the handle end of the club to slow down. So like when you're swinging these speed training devices, as you slow the handle down, the head speeds up. So you need that deceleration. Well, when your pressure and mass go together, it's really hard to get that deceleration. The graph below it is your combined vertical force. Yours is 211% of your body weight, which is excellent. Tour average is around 191, 192. So you're putting a good amount of energy vertically into the club. I see longer hitters on the 230, 240 and upwards percentage of body weight. So obviously vertical force is the biggest correlator really to speed, because what we see the longer hitters doing is when they get to the top of the backswing, as they start down, they're essentially, when they get to club shaft, basically vertical, lead arm parallel in the downswing, they're applying pretty much, not always, but for the majority, their peak amount of vertical force, so that they are basically timing up the upward vertical component with the pulling the club in. And that's why we see all these players jumping, because they're pulling the club up to snap it in line, which decelerates the handle, which creates speed. So if I was to grab one of these, you would see that if I just pull this, that doesn't go very fast. But if I get to here and I pull the handle up, you can see how fast the head flies by me. So that's what we're trying to do from a speed, is we're trying to time up when we basically get our arms here and the vertical and we jump. So if I ask you to do a vertical jump, most people will get their arms to go up like this. But when you play golf and you want speed, you've got to time up the pull down and the jump up, because that's what pulls the club up and lines it up. So you get squaring, but you get loads of speed quickly. You need some right-left force to push that force vector ahead of the mass. So there is a component, but it's not a huge amount, because obviously if there's lots of this, it's hard to decelerate the handle, okay? That equals your frontal plane torque. That's your big speed producer. It also tilts your body, so it's really good for getting the ball in the air. But if you do too much of that and you get a massive amount of frontal plane torque and no horizontal plane torque, this is where you see a lot of people can have back problems, because they get a lot of this. It's good for distance, not necessarily great for your back.
Okay, so now we understand what we're looking at, Mark. Like, how am I doing with these forces?
Okay, so we've got the magnitude of a force, how much you're applying it, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got the timing of it. So you could have loads of force, but applied at the wrong time, and it's never going to be translated out to the club. When I look at someone who wants to hit the ball a long way, there is a couple of phases that I think are important. There is what I would call a counter movement to start. We talked about soccer earlier. Let's say Ronaldo's running down the sideline and he needs to go right. He's going to push left to cut right. Does that make sense? It's a counter movement to then send you up. So the first thing I want to look at when I'm watching you here is, do I see a little bit of a spike before the club comes back? And you do a nice job. So if you watch that green, we're going to get this a little bigger. So there we are, the face on video. If you watch, you see how that went up before you even took the club back. So there's a little forward press. So you've got a counter movement, which is good. You then do a good job of getting back, and you can see how it's really important that your mass ascends in the backswing, because that's going to allow you to unweight. So what we want to make sure is that early transition, you are moving up quite a lot. So we're not talking the whole backswing, but this first sort of 6 inches in the swing, you're trying to make sure that you get going up. And you talked about, you've done that with Luke, trying to get elevated, right? You want to go up so you have more propensity to unweight. We'll talk about that in the transition part. So you've got a good counter movement. We want to see you go up a little bit more, a little sooner. So I'll always say the best players, you see the head go up. So a lot of conventional golf instruction, has essentially taught speed out. Keep your head still, keep your feet on the ground. All those things are great if you want to hit it short. But if you want to hit it a long way and produce speed, it would be advantageous to use some of these mechanisms which we see in the long drive population. On the way back, we could go a little more up, but you do a pretty good job. And you can see how you moved, your mass moved backwards. Okay, so your arms have got mass, so as soon as they move away, you're going up and backwards. That's good, okay? Now we get to the top of your backswing. The unweighting part in your golf swing happens when you're basically moving down faster than gravity's pushing on you. It's complicated, but dumbed down. People think when they lift their front foot up in the backswing, that's them unweighting. Well, it's not. Unweighting happens here in the transition period, where at this point, as I'm going up, you can see how you started over here at 100%, where you only weigh 80% of your body weight now. So you've unweighted 20%. Now your job is to kind of put that back in. So now as you start coming down, by the time the shaft is lead arms parallel, shaft vertical is when you want your peak vertical force. Yours is a teeny bit late, but it's pretty dang good. Okay, so now the question is, well, how do we get that out into the club? So one of the things that is interesting to me for you, your right-left force is quite interesting combined. It peaks, let's pull you back here. So I go to this face on. Your right-left peak. So we see it usually at the top of the backswing. So yours kind of comes off here and then you apply it, you kind of take your foot off and you apply it close to the top. So that's pretty good. Like the timing of that's pretty good. So that's why you're close to being ideal on that vertical force. So that means you've got a decent amount of time to apply what you've put in to the ball. Now here's where I find it quite interesting. You keep applying quite a lot of force and it's like you never crack the whip. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of energy, but then you don't put it out to the club.
Well, and then I close the face fast and then my arm comes off and I whip it around,
that's a traditional part. But if you look at your lead leg, you've got vertical, but I never see the lead leg basically snapping. It's got a little bit of, it's not like it kind of, you jump and line all this up. Do you see how it's slightly bent?
Yep.
So now there's not that deceleration as much of the handle, which means that you're not necessarily putting into the club the energy that your ground reaction forces are putting in, because your ground reaction forces are actually a lot higher than lots of tour players I've measured.
Okay.
So you're doing actually a good job here, but what makes you not a tour player, like most of us amateurs, golfers, is the fact that you don't put the energy out to the club. The gift that a great player has is they know how to put the energy in the club. So I actually think your sequencing is not too bad. It's in the right order we see here, but it's your deceleration. So the best analogy is Formula One cars go really fast in a straight line, but they have massive braking systems to be able to decelerate. That's what we need to be able to get you to brake a little bit better so you can actually put the energy in. Now that seems really counterintuitive because, well, I need to go slow something down to go faster. Well, yeah, you do. We saw that with the orange whip.
Do you want to change something here with this?
I would try and make that more, and I'd try and get you more unweighted. But I need to get you to do the thing first. I need to teach you to jump with the arms first.
Okay. And my question with my lower body is I don't squat at all, where it looks like I'm going
But that's the unweighting part.
Got it. Because I'm not doing a good job of that.
Yeah, so look, prime example, you push better than him heel toe. His is only 25, but they're balanced. Okay, but he's 236, and look how much he unweights.
Well.
So 100, 100, 100, 100, here we go, going up. So now you start to unweight, okay? So your maximum weighted around the top is 20% of your body weight. So let's take max, this is last year, this is right before the playoffs going into, you drove it well in the playoffs, okay, last year. So if you watch, his peak is 236% of his body weight. His peak moment arm is 13 inches, yours is 6, okay? This is purely vertical force. So if you watch early transition, he only weighs 50% of his body weight. So he's unweighted 50%, and you see how early it happened. Yours is max unweighting, 20%. You kind of stall out a little bit, but let's just say it's 15%.
Yep.
You unweighted less, so there's potentially less that you can put back in. Do you know what I mean? all right? So the more you unweight, the more you can put back in. So you talked about, I don't have a lot of squat, right? So you've got to go down to go back up. So in the backswing, you've got to go up. So come up, center of mass up, so that you can then unweight more, squat down to jump back up. And then as you jump back up with that force, that's what's pulling the handle up, squaring it up. So in a short period of time, he's gone from there, and you can see now his leg's going to straighten up. You see how he kind of times that up, but it happened sooner. So he's now got from here, his peak, to be able, and that's arguably a touch late, but he's got all this time, and this is a good visual for people, to get the handle to pull up and around, and his shoulder, this is why people talk about going up and around, he's doing all this so that he can pull the handle up basically and around the corners. So he's now going up, and that's why you see so many of these long hitters with these shoulders that work up this way, and they've got pressure under their lead arm, because now he's got that enough time to put that back into the club. Whereas you can see you're coming down, so there we go here. You see how your leg never really loads, and you never get the club snapped in a line.
Yep. All right, so summarize.
You're unweighting a little bit so that we can get you to jump and pull the club up and around, so we can decelerate the handle and accelerate the head. You also have one very nice part, which is an advantage. You push more with your lead foot, so you pull that force behind your mass, which allows you to bend your spine forward, so protects you a little bit in your back. So I would be a little hesitant of jumping up on the verticals if you were someone that didn't have good heel toe push, because I'm potentially going to make you come out your posture more and potentially injure your back. So when we do all of this and we're looking at force production, frontal plane torque tilts you, gets you, moves the club more up, potentially inside out. This moves the club more out, and around moves the club more outside in. And remember, we talked earlier a little bit about harmonizing the forces. I'm trying to get you more distance, which is very much dominated by frontal plane. But you are fortunate, like a Charlie Hoffman, you have great heel toe. It's a safe way to go because you're going to maintain your dynamic posture, which is cool. So I'm very apt to go all in on trying to get this a little higher to try and get this faster. Some of it is your ground reaction forces isn't the end all be problem. The problem is trying to get the club on the ball and get this to where we don't just drag down the line a little bit. We need some braking.
Love it. All right. Coming up on the road to 180.
Push down more to pull up more to basically get that handle decelerating in the face. Got to be quicker.
Well, I've got it. Obviously, I got to throw it as hard as I can.
Yeah,
right?
so don't think of it as throwing that way. Think of it as pulling the club up and in.
No one said gaining speed was easy, you know? Contact
121.
There. 121, okay.
You've amplified the ingredients for speed. You finally got longer, so there's more time. Left foot, so you're around over here. That's happening because you've been pushing so hard and pulling up. You get that. That's completely different to this.